So Yellowjackets season 3, episode 3, them's the breaks. Something saying not said enough. I feel like I say it, but I don't feel like I hear people say it enough anymore.
Yeah. I feel like I've heard you say it as well.
Yeah, it's an older saying, I guess.
Mm.
It's a 90s saying. How about that? Is it? I don't know.
It probably is a 90s saying. That would make sense.
Why it's in this show.
Yeah.
And I would assume that's in reference to what happens to Shauna's car. Okay, so we get kind of a little bit of like a bit of a levity opening, like a little comedic opening in a way, where Ben and Mari are having a back and forth. She tries to like come on to him and flirt with him, and like, I had a big crush on you, and he's like responding to her saying, you know,
I'm gay. Stop it.
no, he's responding to her like, "Oh, really? You're into me? Then why did you say I
Oh,
had
yeah.
raging
Yeah.
gonorrhea?
Yeah.
And why
Yeah.
did you say that a coach in French or whatever?" That stuff was funny, and then he does admit that he's gay, which I feel like he told that. Did he tell that to anybody yet?
I
Because
thought
Misty,
Misty was the only one that knew
I didn't
that.
know if he, but
And then
he
Misty
lied to
continued.
Misty to make her think that he was into her. Remember?
Oh yeah, it's been a while since we've seen the first season.
Oh, a long
So
time.
I
4 years,
thought,
3 4 years.
yeah, I
It's been a long
thought
time.
that he told her that he was gay, and she was the only one that knew that.
I thought he
Could be
maybe she like
totally
worked it
wrong on
out for
that.
herself or something, but like he made her think that she
For a period,
he had
yeah.
she had a chance. He
Yeah.
just was like, no, like people can't know,
Yeah,
just to get her to go away.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't think anybody else knows. If anybody knows, it's Misty and maybe Natalie, but probably not Natalie. Um
Yeah, this is the
the
problem
problem
with.
with not rewatching it
It's not only
before.
just
Yeah.
rewatching it, it's just how many years between seasons. It's like, I can't, how many things we've watched since we watched this. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah, Mari's definitely a little surprised though, when she hears that. And yeah, and then
And then they bear spray each
and then they
other.
bear spray each other. Yeah. It's like a dark comedic opening, I
Yeah.
suppose, because it's pretty messed up, and they have a yeah, it's funny. But the bear spray, man, that would hurt so bad.
And just to reiterate a point that I constantly make when we make these videos, we're not here to explain anything to anybody.
No.
That's not this channel. This channel is just to hang out with, friends who are just chatting about a show after, and we're like, wait, what happened again? We're not yellow jacket fucking experts or anything by any means.
Definitely not.
We watch so many different shows, so many different movies, trying to cover them all and just going off of pure memory. And yeah, first season was like 4 years ago now, so
Pretty crazy.
it's yeah, when
A
you
lot
get
has
that far
happened.
back, you're just kind of like, I think I remember this
Yeah.
being the truth. I can't remember for sure. And if you guys think that we shouldn't be covering the show if we don't go back and refresh ourselves, then don't watch anyway, because this is how we do it. Yeah, okay, so one theory that I had from last episode ended up coming true as expected.
Yeah.
Van's cancer is now in remission from the sacrifice.
Yes.
Now, I had also suggested in there that maybe Van was in on things and she purposely wanted something like this to happen, that she's the one stalking Shauna, that she is gonna make sacrifices because she's scared of her cancer and dying. I don't think that anymore. Her reaction to finding out about the guy, now she could be acting, but there's like
I don't think so.
there's a rejection of it. She
Yeah.
doesn't like
She
it.
doesn't want it to
And
be true.
it just, it doesn't bode well for that theory. So
No.
my theory was half right, but I wasn't saying it as a sure. I thought for sure the sacrifice thing was going to put her cancer in a remission. That I was like almost 100% on.
Yeah.
Her being complicit or involved in that in any way, I was more 50-50 on. So that one I'm not surprised didn't come true, or seemingly isn't going to be true. But the cancer thing in remission from it, I was like 100% positive, because that, of course, is what's going to happen with a show that talks about like the wilderness and you've got to sacrifice and it wants more. And like, yes, obviously this guy dies and her cancer goes away.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that she, as you said, I think she kind of, she's scared when she and Ty piece it together, I suppose, and she definitely doesn't seem like she's that she had planned that or
No,
anything. So,
no.
yeah, and in fact, it makes Ty get kind of, she's like, you should embrace it, like it's happening again. And then obviously later in the episode, when Ty and her are watching some, I don't remember what movie they're watching, but they're watching some VHS, like recorded VHS, and an old television commercial for an
Ice
ice
cream
cream store.
parlor. Yeah.
Yeah, which is like the scariest ice cream shop commercial I've ever seen. We see the guy with no eyes that she's been seeing everywhere, and she kind of is like, "Oh wow, I must have seen that when I was a kid," and
Yeah.
like it traumatized me or whatever. And they run off to go to the ice cream parlor. And Van is very like doesn't want to do it. Is not about like following those like the things that the signs that are nudging them
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that she's going to continue to probably push back on it, but we'll see. I mean, she could definitely flip.
And when they get to the ice cream parlor, they go inside, they see the fox. The fox is supposed to be a representative of the wilderness,
Mm-hmm.
saying, we want more.
Yeah.
We want to kill. We want you to kill. We want more sacrifices, and you can get more of what you want. So that's pretty much everything with Van and Ty
Yeah.
in this episode. So we can move on from that. But I guess I shouldn't say we should move on. I guess, like, will they? I could see she goes in for more testing because she
Mm.
says there has to be more testing, and Ty's like, shut up, whatever. I could see her going in for more testing, and it's reversing again, and they're like, oh, I'm
Mm.
sorry, it's grown.
Yeah.
And that because Ty's falling in love with her again, or is still in love with her, going out and killing someone
Sure. I think
to
Ty
save
is gonna,
Van. And then I
yeah.
think ultimately Van might kill herself because of the
Mm.
guilt of, like, I shouldn't live when others have to die for my
Yeah.
life. Because the way she reacts to seeing that guy's death is not a positive experience. She wants to live. She's like happy about that her cancer's in remission, but the read I'm getting on her when she hears that is not positive. It's not like, yeah, let's go kill people to save me. It's more of like, no, I don't want anything to do with this. So I could see her going into remission, Ty killing, going out to try to kill someone or killing someone in her honor to try to like save
Yeah.
her, and then Van ultimately killing herself because she doesn't want it and wants to reject it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a pretty good prediction because I definitely see Ty killing somebody.
Yeah.
And for Van would make total sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what happens with their story.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
I guess the other,
Well, we'll,
well,
we'll move on
yeah.
to the next thing here. Just go in order of the notes. Otherwise, I get lost on the notes, and
Mm,
then I miss things, and I'm like,
mm-hmm.
no. Um. So let's move over to the Misty and Shauna stuff. You know, Shauna has definitely always been a character that is a bit in a gray area for me, where I'm like, there's things about her I like, okay, and there's other things about her where I'm like, God, she sucks. Um, but man, they are really ramping up the dislike for Shauna this season. Like, young and old. I really don't like who she is this season at all, and I feel like shows tend to do that with characters,
Mm,
where they just like all of a sudden the writers' room. I don't know if they're like mad at their daughter or their wife or somebody, and they're like, I'm taking it out on this character because it's just like all of a sudden she's become even more unlikable than ever before.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know if she's even more unlikable. I think she's probably about the same that she's been in the last two seasons.
Even the younger self.
Well, maybe not like the first season, like young her or anything. Before young her, before the trauma kind
Yeah.
of starts to set in. I think that the flashbacks that we're getting of Shauna, she's definitely a lot more hardened. I think that's where she's kind of, we're seeing that side of her where, she doesn't buy into all of the like woo woo stuff that Lottie and everybody and, some of the other people are into. She's very bitter about her child and like just angry in general. So I think that maybe that part of her, like the younger version that we're seeing this season, is a little, she's, like I said, angrier. But I feel like adult Shauna is kind of the same that she's been the last two seasons. I don't feel like she's necessarily like much worse this season.
Yeah.
Because she's just a bitch. Like that's her character. To oversimplify it, obviously, like she has. I do like I think that the show does a really good job at showing like the different facets of everybody, and I think Shauna is like a really good example of how like, she's this survivor and there's parts of her that are like, as I said, hardened, but then we also get moments of her where like she's trying to connect to Callie or to her husband or like whatever, and like we do get softness here and there. So I feel like it's not black and white with any of them. I think Shauna just for some reason rubs you the wrong way. But I think all of them have that aspect to them,
To some degree. I just find Shauna to be very unlikable this season.
Yeah.
Now when they have their big fight, and I had to call this out in the moment because there's a couple things that happen when her brakes cut.
Yeah.
And then they take this this turn where they go up a hill, which of course is eventually going to start rolling backwards. And then Shauna pulls the e-brake. Okay, if your brakes go out and she like instantly, as soon as the car starts to roll backwards, she puts on what I don't know though. Like you were like, anyway, I
Well,
don't want to
okay.
call you out, but
No.
it's literally called an emergency brake. The literal point of that brake is in case your brakes go out, you have an emergency brake.
But I
Like,
have a
did
question. I have a
anybody
question
not
about
take
that.
fucking
If
driver's
you're
ed?
going super fast and you pull that, does that not like make your car spin out or do something like that? Like what, it feels like it would. I don't know. I've never had to use that in like an emergency situation where I'm like speeding and my other brakes don't work.
I mean,
And is
no,
it a different
we've
brake
had to
than the regular brakes? Like
we
there's a
had
different
to
brake line?
yeah, we had to pull it once when I was a kid because my mom's car screwed up and something, and we were going, and it just pretty much like instantly stopped the car. It was
Yeah.
intense, but it really could screw up your brakes.
Mm.
So I wouldn't advise pulling it unless it's an absolute emergency. But the fact that she doesn't even think to pull it.
I didn't even know it was an emergency brake. So that's what you were gonna call me out on, because I always thought that was the brake that you pulled when like you're parked uphill so that you don't slide back
People, I
down.
mean, people put it on as a
So
parking brake,
yeah.
right? But the one in the middle of the car that you pull up, and
Yeah.
it's literally called an e-brake. It's called an emergency brake.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't pull it until they get uphill.
Now there's the ones
um
on trucks and whatnot that are like the pedal on the left of the car that you can push in.
mm,
Don't know if because that's actually that those are like literally called parking brakes. But I
mm,
don't I yeah, anyway, it's an emergency brake. She should have pulled it when she was going down the hill. It's
mm,
not like I know a ton about cars. I'm not like some fucking car guy,
yeah.
but it's an
She
emergency
she
brake.
didn't do it.
It doesn't matter. It does matter. But the fact that they go and then they stop and they like drive through a park and they like turn last second and almost hit kids, and they're parked like literally, we see when Misty gets out of the car, they're only like 10-15 feet away from all the kids on the playground. The fact that no one came over there
I know
to check on them or to yell at them, like no
yeah.
mom would yell, "What the fuck? You almost killed my
Yeah.
kid," or like, somebody else coming over and being like, "Are you okay?" The fact that no one even acknowledges an out of control van that flies past kids on a thing and then stops and parks not 10 feet from the park, and nobody addresses
Yeah.
it, nobody comes over, nobody takes their kid and leaves. They all just let their kids continue to keep playing when the van's still sitting right there. No fucking way. This is one of the more outrageous scenes of the show. There's no way that's real. I'm sorry, there's no way. Anyway, I think we get pretty much good confirmation here that the person who left the phone is Melissa. And I think that's because she hasn't told anyone yet, but
Mhm.
the fact that she's suspicious of Misty and that she straight up is like going at her and being like, I knows you, and she's like, what are you talking about, like this and that. When we get the last episode and she called in and they were like, what'd she look like, and it
Mm.
was like a blonde woman, or like, we don't hear what they say,
Mhm.
but the description has to meet Misty, otherwise why would she think it was her?
Sure.
And Melissa also has blonde hair.
Yeah, I
You
would
know what I'm
imagine.
saying?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure they're like some blonde lady
And even
came.
in this episode, the literal first words she says to Melissa when she's looking at her is "stalk much?"
Yeah,
So she's like stalking her
yeah,
and
yeah.
watching her from afar and seems to have like an obsession with her and
Sure.
continues to keep following her. And here we are now where she's in the future and she's still following and obsessing over her.
Yeah, I think it's. I feel like pretty confident saying that it's likely Melissa that left the
But it
phone.
hasn't been revealed yet.
No, it hasn't,
So
which
it's
is
like,
interesting.
is it still possible it's not Melissa?
Maybe, but
Is Melissa and like um Walter like brother and sister or something? Like, has
mm,
Walter been sent in by
mm,
Melissa? Like, I feel like he's connected to somebody.
I do too.
Somehow he's gotten brought
Yeah,
into this.
Walter is an interesting character. He's not in this episode at all.
No.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I have no idea. I can't even begin to like think about them being brother and sister. Probably not.
I would feel
But
like they would
maybe.
know one
But
of the surviving
yeah,
members has
exactly.
a sibling.
That's what I would think too.
I would hope.
Um,
Or maybe it's just like her boyfriend or like a friend of hers.
who knows?
Yeah, anyway.
But yeah, I think it's pretty awful though how Shauna yells at Misty and especially because like earlier like when Shauna and Misty meet up, like she makes her come to a little cafe so they can have like scones and coffee together because she wants to have like like a little girl date and like hang out and stuff. And Shauna is like, oh, I gotta go now, like I gotta go and do like errands or whatever. And Misty is like very insistent on being like, let me come with you, let me come with you. And
Yeah,
this
she
is the
doesn't get it.
this is the bad thing with like Misty is that she like does not understand. It's as you had said about like Walter being like the perfect example, like he acts towards Misty the way Misty acts towards everybody else, where she's just very like pushy and kind of overbearing and like doesn't ever like get the hint, I guess.
Yeah.
Because she is just like she wants to be friends with them and she doesn't, she's a bit naive, I guess. um Anyway, and she kind of ends up like wearing Shauna down to let her take her with her. So it's just sad, like when they have the argument and Misty's like, "You're like the worst friend. Like, thanks for opening my eyes." And then she goes home immediately after yelling at a kid for looking at her, which was really funny. And burns the picture of the four of them of her.
Including
And
Natalie, which is
yeah, I
interesting
was
because she
pretty
loves
surprised that
Natalie.
she burned Natalie's photo as well. Yeah, or that. Yeah.
Right.
um Anyway, so I'm very curious to see what happens with Misty going forward. I hope that she ultimately I want her to get treated properly. But I think she's going to be like not wanting to help people as much, but maybe doing her own investigation on the side. And this is where I think now that she has officially been like, you're not my friend and like none of you are my friend, she's been like, Walter, you were right. And like this is where Walter I think is going to start
Yeah,
coming in
swoop
more
in. Yeah.
and maybe manipulating her, maybe
Yeah.
helping her,
Yeah.
maybe a bit of both.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I'm kind of expecting him to be in the next episode. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. I think that he and her are going to team up to kind of take them down.
yeah. Yeah.
He's going
And
to be
she
like, you
probably,
deserve so much better. And she's going to be like, you're right.
yeah, I'm sure. I wouldn't be surprised if Misty's the one that finds out that Melissa's the one that was trying to contact Shauna because now she told her, like, you're the one that left the phone. And so she's got like a,
She's about to go
you
to
know,
war, man. Misty is not a person you want to have as your enemy. I
no,
mean, Misty, like, literally, I think people might forget this, but Misty murdered someone in the first season,
sure. I mean, she
right?
killed Natalie
Some
too, but
journalists
like,
that she, like, locked in her fucking basement and then gave her, like, a
oh, I thought
poisoned
you were meaning the
cigarette.
the girl that she pushed off the cliff
Hmm.
too. younger her.
I'm talking about fucking now.
She's not to be messed with for sure. And unfortunately, Shauna is kind of right when she's like, "You're a psycho." Like she isn't well in a
No.
lot of ways, but none of them are. Whether or not all of it's because of the like the plane crash, who's to say? The only one we know that had mental problems before was Lottie, right?
Misty seemed pretty fucked up beforehand. She's
Yeah,
just awkward and
it's all just a bad situation for everyone.
yeah.
So Shauna's like really pissed off. I don't know what's next in your notes, but I think after that is when
I,
Shauna goes
I
home.
was gonna say, so Callie and Lottie
Oh, right.
have got a lot of bonding going on
Yeah.
here, which does seem a bit far fetched. I don't really know what. I feel like they didn't know what exactly to do with Callie's character this
Mm.
season, so they're like, "We'll pair her up with Lottie," and it's like you just ended season 2 with her watching this girl chase her mom through the woods with a knife, and now they're best friends and hanging out at the mall together and shoplifting together and making food together and singing together. And the fact that, like, I know this is gonna really piss off some people, because I saw some comments in our last video where people were like, I think this is almost like a jump the shark moment for the fact that Shauna would allow Lottie to babysit basically with Misty, her child.
Mm.
And now they're like going to the mall together and cooking together and singing together.
Well,
And then
to
she
be
kicks her out
fair,
at the end of this. But regardless, like, I think that's gonna really send them over the edge. Like, why the
I
fuck are
think
they at the mall together and all this?
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't I
They're
It's a bit far
so
fetched.
okay. I mean, like the babysitting thing, like that's why she calls Misty over is because she's trying to get somebody to watch them together because she doesn't want them to be alone.
Get
And
that.
obviously that fails. And then the mall thing is not something she knows about. Callie literally is like, "Sorry, I'm late. Like my mom had like
Yeah.
a pop quiz for thermodynamics or whatever." And so
But
she's
they're
like
but they're
sneaking away to
alone.
the
Like,
mall.
she's leaving them alone at the house together.
I don't
And
know if she knows that they're like what I'm imagining happened, right? Because Lottie tells her like my schedule's full, which is a lie because she's gonna hang out with Callie,
yeah.
right? And then
Okay.
Callie is like, I'm gonna go hang out with friends or do whatever at the mall.
Mm,
So she doesn't even realize that they're together, let
yeah.
alone that they're at home together. So she's surprised when she comes in and they're cooking together. She's not I don't think she's like intentionally doing that and leaving them alone. And Callie's like, whatever, 17 or something. So she's already proven that she's very rebellious and like she's like her mom in a lot of ways. Like when she's wanting something, like she kind of just goes and does it.
But if it wasn't
Um,
for the necklace, do you think she would have gotten
I
just
don't
as
know.
mad and kicked her out of the house? I
Oh no,
don't.
no. I think the necklace is the catalyst for that, but I think she still would have been upset, but I don't think she would have kicked her out of the house. I think she still kind of would have been like, I don't know about this, but the necklace definitely flips her like over the deep end,
Well,
or
yeah.
flips her over the edge,
The
and
necklace has so much
which yeah
behind
is
it. It's
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, so Lottie gives her
How does Lottie have it is a good question.
yes, Lottie gives her Jackie's necklace, and she says like it never meant what you thought it meant, which is interesting because it's like that's what they were using. Like Natalie was wearing it when she was being hunted, and that's what they were putting on the girls or on whoever the hunt was being hunted.
Pit Girl
Um,
was
yeah.
wearing it in the opening.
So yeah, how it gets to Lottie, how she gets it is a good question. We don't know where it
The
ends,
freaking,
obviously.
the wilderness gave it to
Yeah,
her.
yeah. But it does seem to have like a lot of meaning to it, right? Like
Yeah.
so it's a heavy thing to give, and yeah, Shauna freaks out and kicks her out. Which yeah, I feel like that there it is, like she's kicking her out. Although yeah, like as you said, maybe she wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for the necklace, but like we get there anyway. She tries to give her a chance, and this is what I was saying about Shauna, where like I feel like she has these moments where she tries to be kind and nice and everything, and then there's different triggers.
Yeah. Speaking of Lottie, what is up with this? You had mentioned this, and I agree with you. We don't really need to talk about this because there's not really much to talk about. But this random scar on the forehead of young Lottie, but it ain't on older
I
Lottie.
don't remember how she got it. I don't remember if I think we saw it. I feel like she got it like
It's just full of eels.
after, maybe.
She has nothing there on her forehead as an older person.
I literally don't remember how she
She
got
had
it.
it lasered off.
Yeah, I mean that's what I
Whatever.
would just say. Is that she had it removed and then she wears makeup.
That's fine. Okay. Now, Mari, when she escapes, which she like knocks his crutch out and walks away and all that, and the whole like, I hate to harp on things like this, but they just the tropes always just annoy the fuck out of me. But like, did anyone for one singular second think that Coach Ben was going to actually stab Mari?
No,
Like,
it was just for her to be
I
scared.
know, but like the way it's the music and
Yeah.
everything, where it's like, you're not gonna stay. We know you're gonna cut the bounce. They do this in every other movie I watch. Somebody comes up with a knife and they're like scared, and they go and they cut their bounce. I have seen that done in literally hundreds and hundreds of films at this point,
Yeah.
and never once, ever, I don't think, unless I'm completely misremembering something, has someone actually stabbed the person.
Yeah.
It's always them cutting
Yeah,
them
it's a
free.
trope.
Always.
It's a trope.
Anyway,
I like the conversation that they have before though, and Mari's like telling him
about the cancer
about
kid.
about her cousin,
Yeah.
and then is like, I think that there's two realities.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting that she says that, because it is like, yeah, maybe I think we had talked at some point either in the first season or second season about how like maybe they never left, right? Or like maybe this is all kind of like a fake reality that they're living in. So I think that would be interesting, because I mean they're in like this, oh actually I don't know if they're in the city, but I'm thinking about the fox and the rabbit, and I don't know, maybe there are foxes that are like around kind of urban areas, but I thought foxes are more like rural.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah,
I just like that
probably.
conversation though. I think
Mhm.
it's a good conversation, and yeah, she runs away, runs back.
She tries to protect Ben,
She kind of
but
does.
man, she sells him out hard.
Yeah, really, really fast. And it's mostly because of Shauna being like, how did you get out? Because she didn't think of like,
But she didn't have to be like, he kidnapped me and all this shit. She could have just been like, he
no,
helped me out and then
yeah.
left.
But she like literally did not think about how she would explain how she got out of the pit that she fell
I
in.
climbed out.
Um,
I
yeah.
survival instinct kicked in and I
Yeah.
climbed out. It's not that fucking hard
Yeah,
to explain.
she didn't
They don't
try
know
to.
how fucking deep it is. It could
I
have
think
been.
she said it was really deep.
Then don't say that.
I know, I
But
agree. I
regardless,
agree.
even if she
She doesn't do a
did,
very good job at protecting him.
you can fall into a pit that also has a way to get out, right? So there can be a pit dug that you fall into, but then has like a
An
um
incline on one side or
yeah,
something.
that you
Sure.
can just climb right out.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
because something you fall into something doesn't mean you can't get out of it.
Yeah, I agree. She
It's
sells him
pretty
out really
simple.
quick, and then Shauna is like, "We're gonna go find him."
Why
Like,
did she even have to say she fell into a pit? She can just say, I fucking fell. I fell off of
yeah,
something. You don't have to say it's a pit, right? You could just say I fell off of a freaking like a little hill or a cliff or whatever that was
she
like
wasn't
5 feet up.
she wasn't trying very hard.
No, and that's
So,
just it. She didn't try very
I mean, I
hard.
don't think that's that
That's
surprising
why
because she
I'm
kicks
not
the
giving
thing
her
out
almost
from.
any credit for protecting him.
No, no, I don't think she really was trying to protect him much at all. I mean, she
I mean, she
literally she tries
lied.
to she bear sprays him, and then she, after he sets her free, she like, kicks the crutch out from him. Like,
Yeah.
she's not really going to. Yeah, I mean, he was wishful
She let
thinking.
her
He was
go,
wishful thinking in that like he didn't want to
and
keep her.
she should have protected him.
She's already kind of been portrayed as like, kind of like she's snarky,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't know.
I'm pretty snarky, but I'm not
It's
gonna.
not snarky. She's kind of mean spirited, I
Ben
guess, is
didn't
what I
do
mean. Like,
anything.
she spreads this rumor about him. Like,
Yeah.
she and Shauna have all this beef. Like,
Yeah.
she's just like, she's catty, I suppose.
Yeah.
Anyway, then
Yeah.
the hunting party starts, and Shauna leads it, and they all go to look for him.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then this leads us into the big moments from this episode where the horror returns.
Yes.
This is the first time we've seen like horror in this show this season, in my opinion. So they go off into the cave, they split into different directions, and we get Shauna Van and Aquila, and they're like breathing in gas because
Mhm.
like the flame starts to burst because there's like there's this gas pocket inside.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not this is the forest and something supernatural that's purposely doing this to them, or if it's just so happens to be this natural gas that builds up in there, remains to be seen. But regardless, they get pulled into different hallucinations. Not new for this show, lots of hallucinations. Um, what's interesting about the hallucinations is um a you get like what is the word for this, like you get a representation of
Mm.
nature,
Mhm.
right? So like the wind starts blowing and you get the noise, right? So you got your air, and
Mm.
then Shauna's in the water,
Van has
Van is in
fire.
fire, and then Aquila is being pulled down into the earth.
Oh
So you get
yeah.
earth, air, fire, and water,
That's
which is
pretty
the
cool.
representation of all of nature,
Yeah.
which is what they're part of, which is
Yeah.
really cool. Um, Shauna's is probably the most. I don't know which
There's
one's the most
shared
most horror to me, because
mm.
like being stuck out in the middle of a lake, and your dead kid is calling for you, and she's swimming and she's not getting any closer, and then they show up a like above head shot of her and she's swimming, and it's like it looks like she's in an infinity pool where she just
Yeah.
isn't moving.
That's pretty creepy. I mean their shared dream to me is like the most horror, like when they're all in the
Oh, I
classroom.
meant their own.
Oh
But I
yeah,
agree.
yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
end
I mean,
part
yeah,
of it. Yeah, yeah.
Vans is like, she's sitting there in front of the fire and then like hands come out and start grabbing her and stuff. And for um what's her name? What's the other girl's name?
Aquila.
Akila. Her part is cool. I think there's a Twin Peaks reference there with the alpaca slash llama
It's an
that's
alpaca.
talking to
Yeah.
her, kind of like Dale Cooper and his
Yeah.
llama. Anyway, I thought that was cute. But
But we know her from previous seasons for being the animal lover.
she's the animal lover. Yes, she's the one that
She's with
kept the
animals.
rat. She's the one that Javi. I feel like we were mixing up his name, Travis or Javi. I can't remember now.
Javi's the younger one who
The one
dies.
that okay, the one that lives, Travis.
Travis is the one that kills himself when he's in the dark.
Travis tells Lottie that she's the like one that the forest wants or whatever to be like the voice, like that's speaking to her because of her connection to the animals, basically.
Mm.
So yeah, she has like the dream with the animals in the pen, and then the talking alpaca. But yeah, their shared dream
Before we
is
get to the shared dream, though, I don't know exactly what to make of Shauna's in the water, or Aquila's in the earth. I think that might be representative of their fears, to some degree. But with Van's is interesting because we don't know who started the cabin fire. And
mm,
in her dream, she sees that an ember flies out, hits the ground, and starts
mm,
burning the cabin. So this could definitely be one of three things. This can either be suggesting that the cabin was burnt down accidentally. They just left a fire going, and you don't leave fires unattended. They're just naive kids who left a fire unattended, and when you don't have a gate in front of your fireplace, pieces of wood can fly out. They crackle, they break, and they shoot out. This is why those fireplace grates that they put in front of them are there, so that that doesn't happen. So we see that that happens, so that can suggest that it was just accidental, that
mm-hmm,
nobody did it, that the fire just did it to itself and burned the place down. Lots of fires get started like that. Number two, it suggests that maybe, of course, the nature, the wilderness did it, right? It purposely burned it down by making that happen, and sending it out there, which I think is almost kind of one in the same. If it's supernatural, we're never 100% on if this is supernatural or not. And then, of course, third being, this could be the hint
yeah,
that
that
it was
Van started.
Van was the one that started the fire. But
Yeah,
for what reason, I don't know.
yeah, yeah, maybe. I don't know. uh, it's very possible that she did, accidentally or otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know,
Maybe she
because
left the fire going.
well, that's what I
She was
was gonna
supposed to
think,
put
like
it out and she
accidentally,
forgot it or
right?
whatever,
Yeah, like it was her job to do it,
or
and
maybe she did it maliciously, but I don't know why.
yeah, yeah, I don't know why she would either. I think if anything, it probably would be more accidental.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So anyway, the shared dream.
anyway, yeah, the shared dream is great. They're all in a classroom together, and they're obviously in a shared dream, and Jackie's there, and that's like exciting to see her. And Lottie is the teacher,
Yeah.
and on the board it's written the kindest way to lose someone, or death is like the kindest way to lose
Yeah.
someone, a human being, or something along those lines, which
Death
is
is the
very,
kindest way to lose someone.
yeah, very interesting. And what a like what ends up happening with the like,
Yeah,
what is it
slap
called?
bracelet.
Is that what it's called? I
Yeah,
thought I
a
had
snap
another.
bracelet or a slap bracelet.
Mm, is great.
They were really popular in the 90s.
Yeah, it's great. Everything that happens there when Ban uses it and it cuts her, and then it getting put around Shauna's neck.
Yeah, so it's interesting here because there's a couple things that I took away from this one. Number one is Aquila isn't harmed by it at all. She
Not at
slaps it
all.
on and it's like a normal snap bracelet,
Yeah.
right? And it just comes right on and off.
Yeah.
Then Van does it and she gets like a laceration, a cut over her
Mm-hmm.
arm, which is, pretty pretty connected to like what happens to her face,
Yeah.
right? But then Shauna, it gets wrapped around her neck and she's bleeding to death, which
Yeah.
then of course turns into her not being able to breathe. And then we find out that the coach saved them and then they're going to take him hostage anyways,
Yeah.
which is really fucked up. But I think it's Lottie, or no,
It's
it's
Lottie.
Jackie that says like you need to save
No, it's
her. It's
Lottie.
Lottie.
It's Lottie. That's like, you have to save her. Like, you have to.
But if you don't like, you have, what did she say exactly? Because what I took from what exactly, I
I think
can't.
she said you're the only one that can save her, and if you don't, she'll
I
die. Or
I thought if you don't, you'll all die or something like
oh,
that. Because what I took from it in the moment, I'd have to rewatch the scene, but I swore what I was taking from what she said was, I think Shauna is ultimately who gets them rescued, because we don't know how
mm,
they get rescued yet. And I feel like that's that it's saying, like, if you don't save her, she can't
mm,
save you guys.
mm,
Right? You guys aren't ultimately leaving here because Shauna's going to be the one that gets you out of here.
yeah, mm,
I could be wrong on that. I have to watch it again to hear exactly what she said. But right in the moment, I was like, I wonder if that means Shauna is supposed to be the most important one that like they have to save if they ever want to get out of there. But
yeah,
then again, I'm thinking like, why would the Woods want them to get out of there? I feel like
sure.
they wouldn't want them to go home. But maybe once
Unless they
they're
want
like
him to
out
go
of
home so they
bodies
can.
and they're like, there's more
That's what I
sacrifices
was
in the
thinking.
city,
Yeah, like there's more
but
people
why
that
would
you
it
can
wait
heal.
like 20 years to
I don't
start
know.
asking for sacrifices again?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, wouldn't it ask like 10 minutes after they got home, like, all
Like, all
right,
right,
more meat for the fire?
yeah. I don't know. I don't want to keep saying that, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a really cool ending to this episode. It sucks that they're gonna probably be torturing the coach and maybe eating him. um, but I'm very curious to see what the next episode brings. I think this is probably gonna be one of the first three. I'm sure people are gonna like this one the most. I feel like more stuff happens, and especially with the ending.
People are a little ridiculous with like how much needs to happen in an episode for them to think it's
I
worth their
agree. I
time.
agree. But this is
Everything gets
more of,
called filler now.
this is the like the supernatural question mark again, like it has the gas as a thing, and I mean they have a shared dream which is fairly supernatural feeling, I think, but it is something that can actually happen to people, so
Sure. Yeah,
you
well,
know,
that's, I mean, that's the
not
show, right?
necessarily supernatural.
It's always going to toe
Yeah.
the line of is it supernatural or not. So,
Yeah.
anyways, we're off to watch Severance because that show fucking rules, and we don't talk about it on the channel, but it is our favorite currently airing show that's airing episodes right now, up until The Last of Us in April 13th. Yeah.
Yay!
But yeah, Severance. If for some reason you guys aren't watching Severance, or somehow you missed The Last of Us, you definitely need to get on that. But for this week, we are done with Yellowjackets, and we will visit this again next Friday.
Yes, we will.
All right. Anything more, babe?
No.
All right. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.